What's her name?
I think
Janet?
I think this week her name is gonna be Sandra.
Sandra? So if you haven't used Zoom before, there's a voice at the beginning that says starting your recording or something to that effect. So I guess we're into naming her now. So all right, well, how you doing today, Cam?
Good. Was not expecting that to be the opening of the show, but I'm doing good. How are you?
We might be doing some editing around that. We'll see. But doing well. Can't complain. We're recording a little early as to some schedule conflicts. So if we talk about anything timely on the episode, we'll probably try to not talk about anything super timely. But if it doesn't make sense to when you're listening to this, it's because we're recording about a week early. So yesterday, I had the misfortune of tuning into a news segment where our fair president was talking about the COVID situation, the Delta variant, and how we can protect ourselves and each other. I'm not wearing a mask again, dude. I'm just going to tell you, I can't do it. You know, if it had been like 15 minutes, half an hour, going to the grocery store wearing a mask before, I'd be like, okay, no problem. Like I can jump back in. But I can't go back to working 8 hours on a very physical job wearing a mask. I mean, I may end up having to, but they haven't. My job has not announced anything. I want to be clear about that. But if they come back and they say, okay, hey, we're going to go back to everybody wearing masks, I'm going to go back to not working here anymore. Because I don't know if I can do it, man. It's terrible. And I think the thing that ticks me off the most is that the reason for anybody that's vaccinated to wear a mask is because we need to protect those that aren't vaccinated. And I'm sorry, and if you're not vaccinated, you've made a decision, and I'm not going to take that away from you. If you don't want to be vaccinated, that's perfectly fine with me. But you have to understand there's consequences to decisions. And I'm sorry, but I got vaccinated. I'm protected. And back a year ago when we started wearing masks, it was all about protecting each other. And I was totally on board with that because it was the best thing we had to protect each other. Vaccines are now the best thing we have to protect each other and protect ourselves. And so to me, like, you've made a decision to leave yourself vulnerable. Why am I going back to wearing a mask for 8 hours a day? Frankly, I have respiratory issues now more than I did before because of wearing a mask all last year. And it's gotten to the point now where, like, when I put a mask on, it's headaches, coughing, difficulty breathing. It starts to compound those respiratory issues. And I'm sorry, but I don't think I can do it, man. You have an opinion?
Yeah, I hear what you're saying, and I mean I have a different perspective a little bit because I work from home, so I only have to wear the mask when I'm in a grocery store, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the other issue for me is I have a child who can't get vaccinated, so I wear the mask solely to protect her because she can't get vaccinated. You know what I mean? But like I totally get where you're coming from and understand what you're saying about the people. The reason we have to wear masks again is because one, the Delta variant is crazy contagious. I read a really interesting article in the New York Times about it yesterday, actually, and how it lives up to you, or it lives a lot longer in the throat and the nose, so that you're contagious for a longer period, even if you're asymptomatic. Because the the idea is the vaccine stops it from getting further into the body. And so one of the doctors they were interviewing says, vaccine 1.0 was preventing hospitalization and death, and vaccine 2.0 is complete immunity, which means that we don't even carry it. So it'll be interesting to see, when we can get to that point safely. But I mean, it's a real issue, and it's causing a lot of issues in a lot of countries. This particular variant of the the virus. So, it's interesting. Like the government is starting to force all federal employees to get vaccinated or subject themselves to weekly testing. So we'll see how certain states play it. I think California and New York have already started requiring their state government officials and hospital workers to get vaccinated if they're not. Otherwise, they have to get tested every week. So of course, this will become an even more political issue as that starts to happen in traditionally Democratic versus Republican states. So we can expect further division and further anger and further false information going forward about all this stuff. So it's going to be real fun. All that to say, I understand where you're coming from, but as someone who has a kid who can't get vaccinated and who I want to protect, like I'm gonna wear a mask when I go out in public. But again, I don't have to do it 8 hours a day.
No.
So like there's a total different experience there.
Yeah. No, I was under the understanding that the vaccines are available for everyone now.
Last I heard is they were doing testing on children 5 to 11, and I'm not gonna let my kid be a test subject. I'll wait until it's. The last I heard in Illinois, it was 12 and over.
Okay. Maybe it's different here. And maybe I'm wrong. But anyway, I have some very strong feelings about that. And I thought that was going to be a much louder rant than I ended up doing. But I think I wore that out on my wife this morning. So yeah, because I have very strong feelings about this. Because, like I said, when I was at work, now I work in retail, so we're in the public, so I get it. We're trying to protect our associates as well, but a year ago when we were in full mask wearing and all that kind of stuff, I mean, we had customers bringing their children into the store unmasked, refusing to mask, and putting their children in harm's way a year ago when we didn't have any protection from this. So, and I understand the argument of the Delta variant, but some of it comes down to making good decisions too. And I'm not saying that you got to lock your kid in the house, but I don't know. I'm just loathing going back to unloading trucks, where it's really common for me to be pulling out 2,000, 3,000 pound pallets out of trucks and having to do that through 3 layers of cloth, or I'm breathing through 3 layers of cloth, and it's very difficult, and if not impossible. And yeah, it's just, yeah. So anyway, I'm gonna leave it there. That's my opinion.
Well, we shall see what the future holds, Mitch.
All right. I might be getting a new job.
Well, I was going to say, fingers crossed that they can figure out a way for you guys to not have to, But
no, they
again,
won't. And if they make the mask thing mandatory for anyone, it'll be mandatory for everyone.
Yeah,
it's just how my job works. Because when they dialed it back for vaccinated people, the verbiage then said, and it's recommended for everyone else. So it's like, we're not going to make you do it. We're just going to say, hey, would you please do it?
Well, yeah. And the second they do that, it's like, oh, you're communists. It's like, we don't even need to go down that trail right now, because then I'll get mad.
Well, my wife does say she likes it when you get riled up about stuff. So
yeah, I'd rather get riled up, not about politics right now.
Okay. All right. Well, I want to do some follow up on the when I talked about TiVo in the last episode.
Yes.
One thing I totally forgot to mention is the TiVo app. Now, I remember years ago when I used the TiVo OTA. It's the TiVo Romeo OTA, because tech companies are great at naming things.
Romeuta.
But that one was the one that I had years ago that just did the over-the-air broadcast. And back in the day, you had to get a separate box that would allow you to stream your TiVo stuff online. Now it's all built into the box. So no joke, I can pick my iPhone up, open up the TiVo app, and I have everything that's on my TiVo is available to me right on the app, so I can watch my DVR stuff. I can watch live
Mhm.
TV on there. It's actually pretty incredible what's available.
Do you have to be on the same network as your box?
No,
Oh, nice. Okay.
no,
So that matches what I can do with YouTube TV then. So you can
right.
be elsewhere. Okay.
Hmm.
Very cool.
And it's available I believe it's available in the web browser as well. On the TiVo, I think, has a website that allows you to do it that way. You could also download the videos. Anything that's on your DVR, you can download to your device and watch it on the device. So if you need to watch it offline, it's pretty crazy. I'm pretty impressed. So it wasn't half
Nice.
that way. It wasn't half as useful years ago when I was using the OTA, because I mean you could go in and like put in stuff you wanted to record and set up your one passes and stuff like that, and you could set all that stuff up on the app, but you couldn't really watch anything because you needed a separate box added to it to be able to stream to the internet. So but now with it all built in, it's pretty crazy, pretty useful. So I'm super happy with the TiVo box, and the fact that I don't really have to like see the Spectrum stuff anymore. I was watching Forged in Fire yesterday morning, I think. It was able to do the skip, that skip mode that I talked about.
Hmm.
And it was so crazy just to be sitting there on the couch, and they're about to go into the commercial, and that's about where I would reach over to grab the remote to skip the ads, and all of a sudden, boom, the ad breaks over, and we're going into the back into the show, and it was so neat. I like that a lot. So, huge TiVo fan now. I really hope that they're able to stay in business and keep going, because they're doing some really good work over there. So really happy.
Very good.
So cool, man. I didn't know what to talk about today. You made a suggestion and we were going to go with it. So do you want to introduce the topic for today?
Yes, today we're going to talk about the virtues of ballet versus jazz dance.
Cool. I really like jazz hands.
I'm so disappointed. You were taking a sip of coffee as I said that, and I was like, here we go. He's about to spit it out. And you didn't even as much as like chuckle. I'm so disappointed.
So yeah, I'm very disciplined when it comes to spitting my coffee all over the place.
I almost stopped because I saw you picking your cup up and I was like, I don't want to be responsible, but I thought, no, it'll be good for the show. Do it for the vine, Mitch.
I spent 8 years in radio. You get used to like people cracking jokes when you're in the middle of drinking water or something. So
I don't have such restraint. I'm proud of you. Anyways, no, today we're going to talk about photo and video apps for your iPhone and iPad because I like them and there are many, many, many different options. So, Mitch, before we dive in,
yeah,
I'm wondering what is your experience been with various photo and video apps? I know that you tried, you took a lot of photo and video on your trip. So maybe can you remind us what apps you used for that?
So I'm going to admit that I'm primarily a just the regular camera app user, just
Mhm.
because of the convenience of it on the iPhone. But when I'm doing specialty stuff, let me see if I can find it here. It's conveniently put in the app library folder called Creativity. So I've used the DJI app quite a bit whenever I've been using my Osmo.
Mhm.
That's the main app that I use with my Osmo. Um, I have played around a little bit with Halide.
Oh, okay.
Um, the amount of tweaking and stuff like that, I think if I was in a setting where that was important, I would definitely, learn that app a little bit better and get better with it. But quite honestly, most of what I do is I take the picture and then I edit it after the fact, and clean it up. That's kind of the way that my workflow works. For video, man, it really depends on the situation. Again, the camera app, just because it's convenient, it's right on it's right on the lock screen if you want to just take a quick picture or take a short video. I don't do a lot of
Mhm.
video. I should say that. But the DJI app, again, for used with the Osmo, I did get Filmic Pro and started messing around with that, and that is pretty incredible.
Yeah,
And
it really is.
the capabilities that it has with the gimbal, with the Osmo gimbal, is pretty crazy. And I think I really would need to take some time to learn all the capabilities, because it doesn't work the same as the DJI Mimo app. You almost have to relearn how, because all those triggers and buttons and everything should be pretty automatic. You should build muscle memory with them, which means that you got to use one app to do it. Because if you're switching between apps, you don't learn that muscle memory. So my muscle memory right now has really been developed within the DJI app. So for me to go to the Filmic Pro, I would need to kind of get better with that and get more practice with that to kind of get my muscle memory back,
Yeah.
with that app. So that's really, if there's anything that is stopping me from using Filmic Pro right now, that's it. Is that would just I need a use case to be able to take more video, and then learn that app better, because it is super powerful. Like, there's a lot of stuff in that app.
Yeah, it's pro for a reason.
Hmm. There is one app that I have wanted to have use cases to use more often, and that's just fallen short for me. And that comes from the guys at Filmic Pro. It's that Double Take app.
Mm-hmm.
Because to me, like, being able to record from more than one camera lens on the phone. So, I'm using the iPhone 11 Pro, and there's 4 cameras on this thing. So to be able to access more than one camera at a time to record, because I think you can only record 2 cameras at a time in that app, but you can record like this person you're interviewing and yourself at the same time. You can, like, one thing I was going to try when we were down at Galaxy's Edge was to film what's in front of me, and then film my wife and I, and our reactions to it. And we never really got the opportunity to do that, but
Mm-hmm.
I thought that would have been a really cool use case for the Double Take app. So that app is really cool from the point of view of what you can do with it. But at the same time, like, for me, the usefulness of it kind of falls short. So,
You know what I think you should do?
Hmm.
I think you should sit down and film an interview with your cat Schrodinger using Double Take.
I could. He's
Internet gold. The internet
he's-
loves cats, Mitch.
he's sleeping right now, so
I
but
didn't mean to do it right now.
he's
We're doing a
sleeping
podcast.
right here, actually. It's right next to me.
Cool. So, all right. About the standard camera app
Mhm.
on the iPhone, it's actually like really good. It's not a pro camera, and we'll get into a few of those apps, but I actually watched a video last night on YouTube by Tyler Stallman. Do you know who he is, Mitch?
No.
He's a Canadian video photo guy from Calgary, who in the last like year and a half to 2 years has really kind of blown up on YouTube. He's got a podcast. Like he's been on Connected. He's had Steven on the Stallman podcast once or twice. So that's how I came across him, was when he came on Connected, and he literally taught Mike how to shoot video on his phone. But he has a really useful video detailing a lot of like some of the pro tips for how to use the camera, and we can link to that in the show notes. Because like, did you know, Mitch, on your phone video, like if you've got this line where it says like, photo, video, portrait, you swipe up on it, you get a whole nother row of controls.
Oh, I hadn't used that before. I want to say that I knew it was there, but I didn't.
And you can adjust the exposure, you can set the timer, you can do filters, you can change the aspect ratio, you can choose whether it's a live photo or not, you can set night mode, all of that stuff. And then if you tap the arrow at the top, it does the same thing, so you can get to it that way. Anyways, he's got a bunch of other really cool tips about how you can change like the portrait photos that you take in editing mode. You can change the f-stop of the background, so it can go from like less super blurry, which in the phone is good, but still looks fake compared to a normal camera. And you can lessen it so it looks more realistic. All sorts of really helpful stuff. So for people that want to get better or just have a better understanding of the built-in camera app, we'll link to that video in the show notes. It's super helpful. I actually learned a few things, and I thought I knew that app backwards and forwards. So
I'll need you to shoot me that link if you don't.
Yeah,
okay.
I will. I'll get it to you. The next app that I use probably the most for video is Spark Camera, which is a really, really neat app in the sense that you just point, tap your thumb, and it records. You let go of your thumb, it stops. You tap, it records again, and it builds these clips into a timeline that you can edit the clips. You can add audio, you can remove audio, you can add text, you can do voiceovers, you can change the transitions, and then you can export it either to your camera roll. It'll break it into 15-second segments for Instagram story if you want. You can add filters if you want. You can change the intensity of the filter, all of that sort of stuff. It's really, really, really easy to use. You can record. You can change, the frame rate and the resolution, add stabilization. It's got all sorts of really neat features, but it's so simple that you just push and shoot, push and shoot, push and shoot, and then, take a little bit of time to edit. And it's got, like I said, it's got built-in transitions, basic swipes. It's got zooms in and zoom out and all sorts of cool stuff that you can play with. It's really a nice little app that I recommend highly for making fun video.
Yeah, and I've used it, and I think I would agree with you. The simplicity of it is nice. I think for me, the getting past some of the interface stuff was a little difficult because it just works so differently. But that it wasn't a huge challenge, but it's just a little different.
Yeah, there's a little bit that you got to get used to, but
It's trying to be cute.
Yeah. The app that I use for capturing more like raw photos from my phone and fussing with all the settings when I don't have my big camera with me is the Moment camera app. And it's got a histogram, which shows you the value of how much darkness and lightness you have throughout your image. You can shoot in RAW, TIFF, or JPEG. You can set the timer. You can control your exposure, your ISO, your autofocus, your shutter speed, your white balance, all of that stuff. And then you can also have presets that you can preset all of that stuff. So like I have presets for like cinematic video, slow-mo, burst mode, bulb light trails, and then a normal raw single shot. So it has like this bulb light trails one. You can just keep the shutter open, and that's how you get like all those cool shots of the cars where like the tail lights run through the hole. And there's a couple other neat things it has in here. Obviously you can use any camera that your phone has, and then do all sorts of stuff. It actually works with the Osmo Mobile too, so you can use that app to take better photos with your Osmo. It's pretty cool. Yeah, it's got time lapse, and then it's got the slow shutter, so you can do the bulb trail stuff, or you can do the time lapse, which takes a photo every interval and then makes a super sped up version of whatever you're taking a look at. So it's got all of the features that you're going to find. Like you said, you looked at Halide, these pro camera apps, and it really what it comes down to is just finding the one that works the way you expect it to work, that the interface is an interface that you enjoy working with. So it's not that the Moment camera app is any better than Halide or any better than even like Lightroom built-in camera, which we'll get to in a second. It's just which one do you like? Which one is easy to understand for you? So there's a good chunk of pro camera apps on the iPhone that
Is this the app that you were looking at?
Yeah, Pro Camera by Moment. That's the one. Highly recommend.
All right.
So then that's that. And what I found out interesting is I must have more photo and video apps on my phone because my folder isn't called creativity. It's called photo and video.
Okay.
But for some reason, Twitch is stuck in there.
Yeah.
Which makes no sense. The next one, I want to kind of transition now into more of like the editing and post processing stuff.
Mhm.
Unless you have other apps that you want to talk about.
No, not at all. That pretty much covers what I use for taking photos.
Mhm.
But when you get into the creativity part, I think we'll have a little bit more to talk about.
Yeah. So my main, well, let me talk about one it's a camera and an editing app called Visco, VSCO.
Okay.
And it is so the long story short, Visco used to sell film emulation editing packs for Lightroom so that you could edit your your big fancy camera photos in Lightroom and then use their film presets that you could tweak to make it look like you shot on some old school Kodak or some old school Porta or some old school Fujifilm. And they were really, really good. But when they have since transitioned to being uh, mobile only, and so you can't buy those prepacks for your Lightroom anymore. They're all just built into the app. And so, like if you can take photos within the application itself, or you can import apps or pictures from your library, and then once you get in there, there's just an insane amount of different types of filters or presets. Preset is the term that's used in photography, whereas filters is like what you do on your phone. It's the same idea. You're altering the color and the exposure and the temperature and the tint and the shadows and all the white balance and all of that stuff. But the ones that are in Visco are not just like we're gonna make it we're just gonna desaturate everything, or we're gonna crank the blue and crank the orange and get that YouTube look. They're for the most part emulations of old film, um, which is not film, but is the close that we can get to in a digital stage. And so there's some just really, really, really like you can get some awesome vintage looks in Visco, and I enjoy it quite a bit when I'm not using Lightroom because the it's just a different vibe, So depending on like what I'm shooting and like we're going to the beach this weekend, and so I'm kind of honestly looking forward to making some like really warm nostalgic type photos and videos because we're at the beach, it's sunny, we're outside, the blue will look really good, warmed up and all that. So I might actually take way more advantage of Visco this weekend than I would in Lightroom just because of the feel that I want to go for in the photos and videos. But it's the user interface in Visco is not my favorite. But there's also like a community aspect built in where you can go and look through a bunch of other people's photos and follow them. So it's kind of like a hipster Instagram, if you will, built into the app. And it's really neat. And they'll have like challenges that you can, submit your stuff to. And they're adding presets on a decently regular basis. So definitely worth checking out. It does require a subscription, a yearly one. But I'm super into photo and video, so I pay it. And then obviously, do you have any questions about that one, Mitch?
No, I was just getting links in for the show notes.
Had you heard of that one before?
I've seen it before. It's not one that I've really quote heard about, but I'd seen it
I
on the
think
App
you can.
Store.
Yeah, I think you can try it out for free. I'm pretty sure the subscription just gives you access to more stuff. Like I think there's
Mhm.
a free version that gives you access to a base set. But don't hold me to that. You just go check it out. Then obviously, we can't talk about editing photos without Lightroom. It's part of Adobe's Creative Cloud, but there are two versions of Lightroom. There's the Creative Cloud version, which is what you get on your iPhone and your iPad. You can also get it on your Mac, but there's also Adobe Lightroom Classic, which is Mac only. I prefer Adobe Lightroom Classic to this Creative Cloud version, just because it has finer controls in certain areas. But what you can do with Lightroom on your phone or your iPad is ridiculous. I mean, you have, you've got your selection tool, your healing tool, you can crop, or you can go through your presets library, you can control, light, color, different effects, details, optics, geometry, like everything. And you can have camera profiles. So like I shoot with a Canon R, and so I can have a profile on there that handles like lens correction and all that sort of stuff. You can control exposure, contrast, highlight, shadows, whites, blacks, everything. Plus, you get your full Lightroom library of presets, which the one I have is rather robust. Because I've shot weddings before and seen your photos and that sort of stuff. So I over time I've built up a collection of things that I enjoy to use with my photos. It is like you can do Adobe Creative Cloud for photographers. It's like $10 a month. You get access to Lightroom CC, Lightroom Classic, and Photoshop. And of course, Photoshop is on the iPad too, and the Mac as well. So you can take Photoshop with you if you want to do some more heavier editing. I don't really do that style of photography, that very like heavily edited, bringing in fake elements and that sort of stuff. It's not my jam, but it is there for those that like it. Another option, and I think you have started playing with this one, is Darkroom.
Yeah. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to ask you what your experience has been with Darkroom.
For me, I just threw a couple of photos in there to play with them, but I would assume that this would be stuff that you can do in Lightroom and other places. But I took a picture that I took for episode of the show that we did about my trip to Florida. There was a picture of the map that I got of the magical world of Harry Potter.
Oh yeah.
And I played with the shadowing and the just contrast and stuff like that, and it became a completely different picture. It was pretty incredible. I'll send you the before and the after of that so you can look at them here. But that was the kind of stuff that I thought was fun. But that's the kind of stuff that I've been doing. I mean, the photo editing that I do is pretty light, and until I can do something like this. So I'll send these to you so you can look at them. But just being able to really pump up the contrast and pull out the shadows more and just change how the color plays in the picture.
Oh yeah. It upped the contrast and added a whole lot of like that. It brought out a lot more of like that darkish red brown and the yellow and the orange and those flags and the numbers. Yeah, it just increased the contrast quite a bit.
Yeah. So, and I mean, I was going for something pretty dramatic.
Yeah.
When I was playing with it. So
you achieved your results. Oh, it looks pretty cool. So yeah, pretty much anything you can do in Lightroom, you can do in Darkroom, except that I'm pretty sure your Lightroom presets will not work in Darkroom. I think it's been a while since I've used Darkroom. So, and I know that they've added like a subscription service too, where you get extra features. But I mean, Darkroom is a fully featured editing application. So if you don't want to go the Adobe route, you want to support, an independent, app developer team, Darkroom is a great option too. It's got some really neat stuff, and they keep making it better. Like just like with camera apps, you have lots of options. So you've got VSCO, Lightroom, and Darkroom there.
Do you think it was intentional that they called it Darkroom in the
absolutely.
Lightroom?
Absolutely. Well, and traditionally when you went to go develop your film,
right,
you went to the Darkroom, and I had the opportunity as a senior in high school to take a photography class, and we had a Darkroom available to us. So we did all film shooting, and then we got to learn how to develop our own film and create our own images, on actual physical, photo paper. So that was super cool. It was a really, really neat thing. chemicals smell real funny in a dark room, but it was a really cool experience that I realized most people, especially in high school, don't have the ability to do. So it was a really neat experience.
Oh, and it looks like they have a Mac version, iPad, and iPhone. I
Yeah,
wasn't
I think the Mac version came uh because it's a universal. They brought the iPad version over to the Mac,
okay.
um, but I had totally forgotten about that. So yeah, good call out, sir.
Would one say it's a Catalyst app? Oh,
Well,
I've
I don't.
downloaded it before. Weird. Oh no, I think that's because I downloaded the iPhone version.
So yeah, there you
Okay.
go. I'm trying to think. Like, there's other apps. Like, if you have a drone, you're gonna have your DJI Fly app. There are other like fun ones, like the people Moment, the company that makes the pro camera that I talked about earlier. They have another one called it's RTRO Retro, and it's all like old school like 70s, 80s, and 90s vibes. You can get like the dad. They have one called Dad Cam, and it's like a bunch of like VHS lines that go over it. And so there's some pretty there's stuff like that. Like I have the InstaX app, which can take any photo and print it on a small Polaroid style.
hmm
So I have like a few of them on the wall. You can see they're pretty small there underneath the light.
hmm
I'm trying to build like a whole collage of them on my wall. Um, Even like hyperlapse from Instagram, I use occasionally. Like if I'm in a really neat spot, like if I'm in Chicago, and there's like a cool line of cars, I can do the hyperlapse of like all the lights and simple stuff like that. But there's always fun little applications that you can find that will take even like Snapchat with their stupid filters. Like my kid gets a kick out of that. We'll like lay in bed and make stupid videos where we look like an old grandma and grandpa, or our faces are all scrunched together. Just fun stuff. It doesn't have to all be
Yeah.
serious and pro. You can have lots of fun.
Yeah, the kids like that stuff. So
I like it. I'm theoretically an adult.
theoretically.
Yeah.
I mean, you are a youth pastor, so
I know. For some reason, parents let me be in charge of their children.
oh,
I must be trustworthy. I know.
no. You seem all right.
So that's all I've got, unless I'm totally whiffing on something.
Well, I use Pixelmator a lot.
Oh,
So
that isn't Pixelmator is kind of like a Photoshop, though, isn't it?
Pixelmator has a couple of apps. There's a Pixelmator Pro, which is more like a Photoshop, which I use that primarily for creating graphics and stuff like that.
Gotcha.
But they do have a Pixelmator Photo that I believe is available for the iPad. Let me look it up real quick. There's Pixelmator for iOS, Pixelmator Photo. Let me see if yeah, they show it on an iPad. So, but that one's a little bit more like what you're talking about with Darkroom and Lightroom. I'm not sure that it's capable of everything that they do, but it looks similar.
Yeah, and
So,
Pixelmator is one of those apps that has been around for a long time and
mhm.
they've always added to it and it's gotten better and better.
It's
So for
so
sure.
good. I mean, back in the day, I would use Pixelmator just because it was so much more, it was a more pleasant experience to use Pixelmator than it was Photoshop. This Photoshop just had so many knobs and dials and all this garbage that I mean, it was more powerful, but going into Pixelmator could do 95% of what I wanted to do. They made it easy and they kept it simple.
Uh-huh.
So, I think I've used Pixelmator Photo a little bit, but I wouldn't call myself an expert. I'm adding the links to the show notes for all this stuff. So, but I have taken Pixelmator for iOS, for iPad and iOS, and created graphics and stuff like that right on my iPad,
Mhm.
which is kind of crazy. That at least back in the day when I was doing it, it wasn't something that people did on a mobile device. So the fact that capability is there is pretty cool.
Yeah, and I mean, if we're gonna go down that road real quick, like you've got that, you've also got apps like Procreate and then Adobe Illustrator is on the iPad, and there's a couple other drawing apps that are really like I have Procreate installed, and one of my friends here, she's really talented, and she uses Procreate on her, and she's got the big like the 12.9-inch iPad, and
hmm
some of the stuff that she's able to pull off in that is like and she does it so fast. I'm just like, how do I find a brush? Yeah, I can't, and I'm not artistic in that way, or not gifted in that way. I appreciate it very much, but I can't. I'm not a good drawer or painter, never have been. And so just watching what people can do now, um, with the Apple Pencil and an iPad is crazy. And in fact, Mitch, don't let me forget. I want to show you something. So one of my high school students, um, she has an Etsy shop, and it's all like Star Wars and Marvel and like stuff that she creates about that. And I got a T-shirt that I want to show you.
Okay.
So because I think he might want to buy it.
Okay.
So, anyways, yeah, it's just really cool. And again, there's options, right?
Mhm.
Find the app and the pricing and everything that fits for you, and you have options, which is amazing
Mhm.
for all of the stuff, for taking the photo, for taking the video, for editing, and then for designing stuff. It's pretty awesome.
Sure is.
How do you really feel, Mitch?
I have to say, you definitely have dived into the photo video stuff way more than I have. For me, it's
Some would
There-
say it's my jam.
someone would say that. Yeah. For me, it's barely even a hobby. It's basically like my wife calls it cataloging. Cataloging your life and having stuff to look back on, because when she was growing up there wasn't a lot of that. So one thing when we went on vacation that she's like, we got to get lots of photos and photos of us, because I can probably count on maybe my two hands. Like we probably have less than 10 pictures of ourselves outside of our wedding. And that has been that. I mean, we just celebrated 20 years. So, we just don't have a lot of photos of each other or ourselves together.
Yeah,
So,
that's a bummer.
yeah.
But yeah, you should, Mitch. Come on, one a day. Make up for lost time.
We can figure it out.
But all that being said, the reason that the camera stuff on the phone is my jam is because I'm actually a big camera guy, right? Like this is my EOS R, and I actually got the 35 millimeter, which I'm very excited to use for my trip because it's like a one size fits all as far as like good portraits, and then also good enough for video. It's wide enough that you can stabilize it really well. But there are times when this is too obvious, or I don't have it with me. I used to carry it pretty much everywhere I went. That got old.
Mm-hmm.
And while my phone will never take photos and videos that are as good as this, because physics is a thing and there is something to be said for the distance between the lens and the sensor and all of that, what you can accomplish on your phone is crazy. So it's
we should make the comment that you're holding up a Canon
a Canon EOS R with a 35 millimeter f1.8 macro lens. That doesn't mean anything to you. That's fine. And then an iPhone 11.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's incredible. I prefer my mirrorless camera over my phone, but my phone fits in my pocket and is way more discreet.
Yeah.
Than this with a microphone stacked on top of it.
Yeah.
So anyways, all that to say, I love photos. I love videos. It is more than a hobby for me, which would explain why I have a bajillion of apps on my phone that are around that.
Right on. And
why I wanted to talk about it today, because hopefully there's someone out there that's listening that is getting into photo and video more and wants to explore what the possibilities are of, what apps are worth it. And
so the next question, talking about post-processing, is video.
Yeah. So if
so we don't call it post-processing, we call it editing, but
yeah. So smart people have realized that we have not talked about that yet.
Mm-hmm.
So the best app to do it, because Final Cut and Premiere are not on your phone or your iPad. If you want to use those, so like the main three for your Mac are Final Cut, Premiere, and DaVinci Resolve are like the three big players.
Mm-hmm.
But if you want to edit video outside of what you can do in Spark, which is very basic stuff, so you can edit in Spark, and you can import videos into Spark to edit it with your stuff, but it is elementary style editing. You can't you can't change any of the color values or the light values. You can't add adjustment layers or anything like that. It's very basic. The best option on your iPad is an app called LumaFusion, which is what they say is a fully fledged video editor. And you have all of your layers. So you can have separate audio tracks, different video tracks that are stacked. You can have your adjustment layers and all of that sort of stuff. You can add your transitions. You can cut, you can, all of that. I haven't used it because I'm a Final Cut guy. And if I'm going to edit a video that I took, on my mirrorless camera, or even a serious video that I shot on my phone, I do it on my laptop, on my M1 MacBook Air, and Final Cut just roars on this machine. It's crazy. So like all the videos that I shoot for church, whether that's like a panel that I'm shooting, or like we just worked through a book by Tim Keller where I did summaries and like key concept videos for each chapter. I shot on my EOS R, edited in Final Cut, and then posted to Basecamp. So if serious video editing right now needs to be done on a Mac or a PC, unless you want to go with LumaFusion, and that's really your only option on the iPad. But it's because we didn't get Final Cut at WWDC.
Well, stop crying. It'll be all right.
I know, that's fine. So yeah, that's kind of why I avoided the video editing, but good call out, Mitch. LumaFusion is what you want if you want to do it on your iPad. Otherwise, you're going to have to go to a Mac or a PC.
Yeah, so I've used Final Cut quite a lot. I haven't really done much video editing outside of just the little bit of trimming and stuff like that they allow you to do in the camera app. Because generally speaking, that's all I really need to do. I've taken a little bit more video than I really want to share, so I just trim it up to the little bit that I want and kick it out the door, and that's as much as I've needed. I'm not doing any kind of professional work for sure, so I do have Final Cut and have used it for some smaller projects that I've done, but nothing super fancy.
It's a very, very capable application.
I think I've used Motion more than I've used Final Cut.
Yeah, I have Motion, and I've used it once or twice for some projects, and I'm just an absolute rookie at it.
Same here, but I've created some impressive stuff in it, but it's very simple. It's nothing fancy. So I create stuff for church periodically in it, but just using particle effects or something like that. Everybody's so impressed when I take the church logo and add snow to it.
How about some 90s fireworks?
Yeah, we could do something like that. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, for me, it's, I've used Final Cut a couple of times, or a handful of times, to do some editing, but I do have it. I can use it, but don't have a lot of opportunity to.
Did we miss anything?
I don't know.
I'll take that as a no.
I can't think of anything that we missed. Of course, that's why we have follow-up in the show. So
indeed.
But so what's delighting you today, Cam?
I'm going to cheat a little bit because I haven't actually gone there yet, but like in a couple hours, I'm heading to the beach to meet with some family, and I'll stay in a house together for the weekend and hang out. And I get to meet my nephew in person for the first time. He's 6 months old, and I've seen him on many a Zoom call, but I haven't got to, squeeze his cheeks and, little raspberries on his tummy and do all the things that an uncle's supposed to do, give him cigarettes, that sort of stuff.
But drink your beer.
Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to some family time and just relaxing, and there's going to be 6 adults and 3 kids under the age of 5. So it's going to be a lively weekend, and yeah, gonna go to the beach and swim in Lake Michigan and eat some yummy food. So it'll be, and I get to drive my car, an hour and a half through the country. So I'm not
Yeah.
complaining about that.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just time to get away and relax with some good people.
Yeah. My wife was saying after she listened to the episode that you could come up here if you wanted to drive.
Yeah, this is true. I was visiting a friend's house last night. Their whole family,
Hmm.
and she was like, you're gonna put 1,000,000 miles on that thing if you keep driving it the way you are. Like, yeah, I know, but it's just so nice.
I had the same thought because when we bought our Renegade, it was essentially brand new. There was only 200 miles on it. When I hit that 1,000 mile mark, I'm like, oh, I'm putting some miles on this. And then I realized that's why I bought it, to
Mhm.
drive it. I'm not going to feel ashamed about that.
Yeah.
So
What about you, Mitch?
I was thinking about this yesterday, trying to come up with like what's really delighting me right now. I had, sometimes I look at this delighting us section, segment of the show, and I think to myself, it should be something really big, something really like, this thing is really delighting me. But I think I'm gonna go with something kind of small, and something that's just kind of the last couple of days has just been making me happy, and that's Alto's Odyssey: The Lost City, the new game from the Alto guys, and I think they're Snowman. I think is the company behind it.
I forget. I played the you know what out of the first two games,
Hmm.
and so I'll probably have to check this one out.
So this one is actually Alto's Odyssey, but what they've done is they've re-released it as an Apple Arcade game, and they've added a biome. So there's different biomes in the game. Like you're in the temple, or you're in this. Well, they've added one called the Lost City, which is, so there's an additional biome that you can play through on this one. And if you can import your progress from Alto's Odyssey into this app.
Oh, interesting.
I'm having trouble getting it to work, quite honestly. I hit the button and it just kind of sits there. So I'm kind of waiting on an update, and in the meantime, I'm playing through it from the beginning, and it's been fun. Like when you joined the call, I was playing it on my iMac down here, and no joke, like I probably should just get a controller to play it, but because the game mechanics are a little weird playing it with a because you're using your mouse or your touchpad to play it, so you have to click to play it instead of just tapping, and so
Mhm.
it's a little bit harder because you're actually pressing into something to make things happen. Um but I'm playing it on this huge, gorgeous screen, and I'm with my AirPods Max on, which half that game is just the ambiance, the
Yeah.
music, the sound effects. It's very, very calming and very, very atmospheric. And just playing it like that, I was just so enjoying that. And I set it up on the screen share for us when we started the Zoom call earlier, because I was watching for you to join the call, and then I was going to shut it down. And that was the easiest way for me to do that. It's a little pro tip. If you're on Zoom and you're waiting for somebody to join the call, you can actually screen share. And right at the top of the screen, if you're waiting to admit anybody into the call, it's just right at the top of the screen, where sometimes I've missed that before when you've joined the call, because I'm on a different screen, or I'm not watching that. But it worked out pretty nice this morning. But Alto's Odyssey: The Lost City is what's delighting me right now. So
Very good. I'll have to, like I said, I'll have to check that.
I'm really enjoying the fact that they're going back and re-releasing a lot of older games, those tried and true popular games from on iOS in Apple Arcade.
Yeah, super smart.
Yeah.
It got
And
me
what
to re-download Threes, and I played
yeah,
that for like a week straight.
yeah. But I think what gets me excited about it even more is that one of the promises of Apple Arcade is that once you have an app available for iOS, the iPad, it suddenly is available everywhere. You know, you can play it on the iMac, you can play it, you know, I think it's a lot of those games are available on the Apple TV. There's some considerations as far as controls. I wish I could change the controls on Alto's Odyssey, the Lost City to be a little less like have to push into my trackpad to make things happen.
Yeah,
But beyond that, I mean, as long as you can handle the controls, it's good. It's fun. So I'm enjoying it.
I'm glad. I will definitely be looking at that.
There's a solitaire game that I had started playing that I've gotten hooked on too.
Flip Flop
Because
Solitaire.
no,
You need to play Flip Flop Solitaire.
I'll have to check that out. But Solitaire Stories, it is such a stupid, like weird game, but it's really pretty.
Ringing endorsement.
It's a really pretty version of Solitaire.
Okay,
And
you never mind. I was going to say something, but I was going to get in trouble for saying it. I filtered
oh boy,
myself, Mitchell.
you did kind of. Well, you can check us out on innerdialogue.show. We got to come up with some a way to do a little bit of advertising or something. I'd love to get some more listeners. So if you're listening to the show and you've got through this far of the show, you're obviously enjoying the show. So tell your friends about it. We're having fun here. I think we put together a halfway decent show, and it's fun to listen to. And it's a ringing endorsement. Remember,
Yes, indeed.
you know, so we
That's
we have
high
fun.
praise.
We have fun on here. That's good. So let your friends know you're listening. You've got this new awesome podcast that you're listening to. For sure, oversell us because we need it. But let them know, and we'll get some more listeners, and hopefully we can grow the podcast a little bit and have fun. So we'd love to have a lot of interaction with you guys as well. So if you have questions, comments, anything that you would like to talk to us about, I am on Twitter. I am at Mitch Craig.
I'm on Twitter. I'm at Jazz Hands.
Woo!
Wouldn't that be that'd be such a good.
I bet you it's taken.
Oh yeah, and I bet you it's
100%.
Yeah, if it's not, that's a gross I can't even talk anymore. I'm at Cam Brennan. That's it.
He's at Cam Brennan.
Everywhere.
We're both on Instagram as well. I'm Radio Mitch.
Still Cam Brennan.
Yeah. He's exciting.
No, I'm consistent, Mitch. I am consistent.
Right on. So check us out again, innerdialogue.show, or check us out on Twitter. You can check out our Instagrams, whatever you want. It's fun. So enjoy the rest of your day, y'all. And Cam,
I don't think I've ever heard anyone with a Wisconsin accent say y'all before.
Y'all.
That was quite the experience.
So here, I'll give you just the quick version of the story. I realize that inner city Minneapolis isn't like inner city Chicago, but you get a little bit of that inner city thing. And I was around so many people for the longest time that just said y'all, that I was like, you know what? I'm unashamedly going to start saying y'all because it's just happening. So yep, y'all is a thing.
I'm judging you for that.
Yeah, you can judge me if you want.
All right, bye.